Hello. So today's video isn't your typical ASMR video because it's not really ASMR in a way, but I thought I'd still try and make this as relaxing as possible. But today I thought I'd share with you guys an embroidery piece that I've been working on. I'm in no way an expert at all with embroidery. In fact, I'm quite a beginner, and this is just something I've been working on. I'm trying to make like a tote bag as a gift, so I thought I would show you guys. This is the piece that I'm working on. This is the tote bag. Meant to be like Reiner's face from Attack on Titan, like as the almond Titan, and it's gonna have like smoke all around it. But yeah, I still have a long way to go, but I thought I'd talk a bit about my process and what I plan to do and record the journey. Got the design from an Instagram account called Sarubi, which does like anime tattoo designs. They're absolutely insane. You have to check out this account if you want like an anime tattoo. You can buy the designs in high quality. All of these, they're like not your typical anime tattoo designs, I'd say. I think they're amazing. There are some like Attack on Titan ones. As you can see there, there's Reiner's mask, so that's what I was going for, but with decided to make it color instead. I thought that might be fun, so those are the colors I ended up going for.
So here's everything you'll need if you want to do this yourself. You'll need a tote bag, an embroidery hoop, a pair of scissors, a zipper, some embroidery thread, some embroidery needles, just one is enough, a pencil, as well as that inner liner bag if you so choose. You also definitely need some snacks and a nice cup of hot tea.
So to talk through a little bit of my process for making the bag, I started by printing out my design, did it out on a piece of paper, cut it out, and then I left like a little bit of white around the very edge of the black outline. This was so that I was able to sew through it, pinned it to the tote bag, the design that I printed out, and then I started to sew literally through the paper and the tote bag. I put it in the embroidery hoop first, don't want to skip that step. Put it in the embroidery hoop, make sure it's really tight, and then started sewing through paper and the tote bag in black thread for the outline. Reiner's face, I call him Reiner, but like he's also Almond Titan, I guess, like the Almond Titan's face. I used a stem stitch for most of it. I would love to do a tutorial on this, but I did not film myself doing it, and I'll do my best to explain. So it's basically where you stitch, and then you go through the other side and you come back like partway through where you've already stitched, and then you go a little bit further. So you go a little bit back, a little bit further. I just found that the stem stitch is better for getting those curved edges, whereas a back stitch is better for like straighter lines. I found that it's really just as you embroider more, you'll figure out like what's going to be the next move, and you can really just switch between types of stitches very quickly, and you don't have to like stop and knot your thread and then like start again. Maybe just decide to go in a different direction, and that's all it is. It's very simple.
Unfortunately, I did not film it, so here's a quick animation reenactment of me outlining his face with the stem stitch.
So I did that, and then I needed to get rid of the paper so that I could start filling in where I had outlined. So to do this, I got a spray bottle and sprayed it down with some water and let that sit and soak a little bit, and then I just started to, with my fingers, just sort of peel it all off. It came off very easily. For like the little corners, I had a little like scalpel that I use for like molding clay, and got in the little edges. There were a few little pieces that were still stuck there, very minuscule, but I found that as I did my filling stitches, they actually kind of came out in the process, and I just brushed it off. It was very, very easy. I started filling in. I believe I started with a face with the cream color first. So I did like a satin stitch. I'm not quite sure what this is called, but it's kind of, I did the thread saving satin stitch. Instead of using embroidery thread that has the 6 pieces of thread intertwined, I then split those 6 pieces into 2 lots of 3, so you essentially get double the amount of thread.
Here's another quick animation to show how I went about filling in the design. So as you can see here, just on the back of the design, there's a lot less thread than there is on the front. I tried to keep the majority of my thread on the front, especially when doing satin stitch, making sure I would go through a hole and then come out at a similar spot so that I wasn't actually making big lines through the back. You'll notice here there's some pen lines from when I originally tried to draw the design on the fabric, but I decided I drew it way too far to the right, and this was something I had to deal with later on. Here I am picking out a Mr. Ballin video to watch as I start doing those filling in stitches.
Camping in this big, beautiful forest in Finland.
Here's a time lapse of me filling in the smoke area around his face with satin stitch. You will notice here that I do start to pull the embroidery closer to my lap and a bit away from the camera. I kind of got a bit in the zone here and didn't really realize where the camera was actually pointing. Some of the stitches here are kind of far apart, so I do go over it later just to fill in some of those gaps. So now I have to deal with the area that I had overdrawn with the pencil. So you'll see me tracing here where I'm planning to fix it by extending that smoke area around the pencil. I tried washing the pencil out with a bunch of methods and stain remover, but it really wasn't working, and then I'd have to wait for the thread to dry again before I could embroider. So just here you'll see I've outlined it in like that lighter smoky color. I decided to not have a black outline on the other side of it and just keep it on the bottom side. I preferred this better. So here's the final design. I was pretty happy with how it turned out for a first try, although those teeth do look pretty janky. I feel like when I filled them in, I actually made them look worse, but oh well. And here I'm just measuring the lining and cutting off the handles for the bag. I then ironed both the lining and the bag so that they were nice and flat. Here I made sure to iron the actual embroidery front and back to sort of flatten down those flyaway pieces. So the plan here was to use some thread as well as some fabric glue tape that I had to stick the inner lining to the outer bag. But I actually didn't know really how to use this glue tape. So here's me doing a little bit of research, trying to figure out how to make it work. So I thought the best way to figure it out is to just test it. So here I've just got a little bit of fabric, putting that on there, and it actually worked really well here. I don't think I'm holding it up to the camera properly, but I try to peel it open and I can't. So then I tried doing this with the bag, but the bag was a lot thicker. So I needed a lot more heat to get the tape to actually melt and adhere to the bag. But it did eventually adhere enough that it was in place so that I could then sew it. So here I am using blanket stitch to sew the bag to the inner lining just to make it all more secure, because the glue tape was definitely not enough here. Once again, I'm watching a video to show me how to do it because I had totally forgotten. Sorry for these angles. I feel like this isn't really a tutorial video but more a show and tell. As you can see, my stitching is kind of dodgy there, but once I added the zipper that was all on the inside, you didn't see it as much. And the thread, you actually can't really see much. It was quite a good match to the color of the canvas bag. Here's me just zipping it up and showing that it's functional and doesn't break apart when I pull on the handles. But if you see the corners here is where it does get a little dodgy in terms of the quality of stitching. But I was pretty happy with how it turned out. here's the bag, and here's me showing it off, I guess. Thank you so much for watching and tuning into this video. No, it's something a little different, but I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed this type of video, please let me know, and if you have any other ideas for content you'd like to see me try, please feel free to put it in the comments.